that takes his time. But the shack outside the game.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, sure.
Just let me know if you wanna go
Yeah.
to that home out on the range. They got a lot of nice girls.
Yeah. Hit it.
I'm with you.
Yeah, with you, baby.
Well, here it's fine. If you got the time, and attend to get yourself in. And here it's time. Almost every night. But now I might be mistaken.
All right, he's back. He's back with me every Thursday, hour 2, of course, for something we call Chaos Corner. It is the one and only Big Daddy, the guardian of chaos. And if you want to reach him, you reach me, Ryan Radio. gmail.com, Ryan Radio Show at gmail.com. Big Daddy, what say you tonight on this Thursday, my friend?
You know, it's great to be on the Patrick Ryan Show. I can't thank you enough here on episode segment 26 of Chaos Corner on the Patrick Ryan Show, episode number 159 with Dino. I can't complain, Dino. I'm doing great back here in the Constitution State. And let's pick up the pace here on Chaos Corner, Dino.
If you were a betting man, take it away.
Well, I want to say this on the Patrick Ryan Show. If I was a betting man, now listen, I'm not on FanDuel. I don't want to give any props out there. Nobody's sponsoring me right now. I'm not condoning gambling, but if you were,
Yes.
and you had the under
Right.
at 159 for the Patrick Ryan Show with Dino,
Huh?
you lost, baby.
Damn, I lose again? Again? Good to talk to you, Big Daddy. Good to talk to you, Big Daddy.
Well, Dino, it's been 2 weeks, Dino.
I know,
2 weeks.
I know, and much has changed. Are you digging the new name? I like how you say it, by the way. I almost feel like having you introduce me with some sort of an imaging thing. Say that again. What's the name of the show?
Welcome to the Patrick Ryan Show with Dino, episode number 159. Now, if you want to talk to Dino, you have to email ryanradioshow@gmail.com.
That's right.
For the Patrick Ryan Show with Dino.
Man, I like that. You're good. You're good. Hey,
Wow.
we got to start here, I think, don't we? I know we want to get into wrestling news and all that stuff that fires you and a lot of these fans up, and we've got more emails tonight already than we had with your last go-around, so hopefully that'll pick up as we make our way forward tonight. But a big part of both my childhood and your childhood passed away yesterday, last night, of course, it was announced. Tom Seaver, George Thomas Seaver, the franchise, greatest the pitcher in New York Mets history, one of the great pitchers in the game. 311 wins, Hall of Famer, 12-time All-Star. Tom Seaver passes away at the age of 75, and a piece of our childhood goes with him.
Well, Dino, I'm glad you brought that up because I would like to give a moment of silence, a moment of recognition to one of my childhood idols. Not only was it Bruno Sammartino from the World Wrestling Federation, it was also Tom Terrific, who I saw many times in the early 70s as a young boy with my grandfather and my brothers at Shea Stadium. I saw Tom Seaver as a New York Metropolitan, as did you when you were breaking into Shea Stadium many years ago,
Right.
Dino.
That's right. That's correct. Okay, moment of silence. Here we go. Here we go.
Thank you, Dino. Another thing that I want to bring up in regards to Tom Seaver, first off, fans of the New York Post and Daily News, I know most of the papers in New York are trash. I understand that. I'm the guardian of chaos, Big Daddy, and I tell it like it is. I'll say that to say this. The picture is frame-worthy in the Daily News today of Tom Seaver, and I want to give a special thoughts and my prayers, a good, close, personal friend of yours, Dino, and a guy that I am being mentored by right now, and that would be the Yankees' Yes Network president, Mr. John J. Filippelli, has a personal connection because obviously Tom Seaver is Flip's son's godfather. So my thoughts and prayers with Mr. John J. Filippelli.
Oh, yeah, no question. I heard from John. He texted me. I have not had an opportunity to get back to him yet, but I did mention that during the show last night that there is an indirect personal connection. I mentioned that John is the godfather to one of Tom Seaver's, his granddaughter, grandson, what? Or do I have that wrong?
Correct. His son's godfather.
His son's godfather.
That's
There you go.
That's the story. And speaking of Flip, again, our thoughts and prayers out to him. Dino, it came out today. Obviously, we know that Flip went into the Hall of Fame. And out on Sports Video Group podcast, episode number 91, with Flip, John J. Filippelli talking about his Hall of Fame career. So it was a very interesting listen. It's out on SoundCloud right now. And so I just want to...
Who did the interview with John?
It was the Sports Video Group. I did not catch the broadcaster's name,
right.
To be quite honest with you. But I know it was produced by the Sports Video Group. And again, an excellent listen. I only listened to hear John J. Filippelli. How could you not listen to that man? And I'm humbled and appreciative not only of your friendship, which led into my friendship with John, Flip, if you will, and now being mentored by him. It means a lot to me.
Sure.
And I also would like to give a rest in peace to the wrestling community for a guy who was a legend at 80 years old, Bullet Bob Armstrong,
right.
And the Armstrong family. And listen, one of the historic legacy families in the world of professional wrestling. You want to talk about the Von Erichs, the Samoan dynasty, the Hart family, the list goes on and on. But the Armstrong family, it was Brad Armstrong, his son, who's also passed away. Just an unbelievable family. Bullet Bob Armstrong was an unbelievable man and had a huge impact on the world of professional wrestling. So I didn't really want to start off this way, but we have to acknowledge those that we lost and people that have impacted us. And getting back to Tom's
news right away here in the first 14 minutes. Go ahead, Big Daddy.
Well, Dino, there's a lot of things going on here. First off, I sent you some of the notes. I want to give a big shout out and a hello to everybody down at Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. You will not believe the controversy and politics that has hit the legendary Paradise 4 here, and thank God it's all worked out. It's public knowledge. I'm not putting out anything there that has not been legally out there and been defended by Mario Mancini himself. We had our event on August 29th.
Yeah.
3 shows, 1 day, alley fights.
Right.
Well, the night before, the town where Paradise Alley has a training facility sent out a cease and desist order saying that professional wrestling in that area where it was zoned is adult entertainment and we're almost making it akin to pornography.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you believe that it's a direct political shot in the town and with the wrestling school? Can you believe that happened? And they tried to cancel it the day before.
Sick people. Sick, demented, warped people.
And anyone that knows Paul Roma, Mario Mancini, Paul Perez, and Big Dave Paradise, a.k.a. Steve Trace the Bondsman, it's a rated G, barely a PG show. This is scripted entertainment, professional wrestling, old school style. This is not Attitude Era. So Mario, who's obviously very litigious, had to go to town hall. They had to petition. His daughter, Jess, started a petition. Thousands of signatures. It went viral for the wrestling community over the weekend. They were able to run the show on Saturday. Huge success.
Well, good.
All the stars were there, socially distanced. The show went on, but had to appear back in front of the board Monday to fight this out. The person at the town clerk's office supposedly has been fired and walked off the job. Paradise Alley has 1-1 against the big guys. They say never fight town hall, never fight city hall, you'll never win. Well, guess what?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Paradise Alley Professional Wrestling. Go ahead, Dean.
Good for the folks at the Paradise Alley. The person.
Well, they fought town hall and they won.
You're right. So the person that put the kibosh temporarily on the event, was it a woman?
It was not.
It was not a woman.
It was a male.
Okay.
And it was all connected to the politics in town. Now, listen. The connection with wrestling and Tom Seaver is connected with everybody in sports, Dino. And I say it all the time, and I'll say it here for the first time on the Patrick Ryan Show. Tom Seaver's TV show, Greatest Sports Legends TV. You remember that back in the day, Dino, when we were kids?
Yeah.
Who was one of his first guests? And I have a photo of it here with Bruno in a headlock of time, Steve. But that's right, Bruno Sammartino,
Uh-huh.
which is going to segue me into local breaking news here in the Northeast.
Already.
In the Northeast, spreading out across the country, it's taking over by storm. And you're going to be interested because it's from your former part, your neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah? What is it?
The Godfather, Tony Capone, of the
Tony.
North American Wrestling Alliance.
Yes. Yeah, we love Tony.
Now,
Now,
tonight
does
he was
Tony
on with...
does Tony watch the show?
Yeah. Tony is watching right now. Tony is a big fan of
Mr.
the show.
Capone?
Listen, he has some very influential guys,
Yeah.
They're all listening from across the country right now. President Bob Champion, Creative Director Lou Reardon, President of Talent Coordinations John Casal,
John?
Cindy, who is the President of Talent Relations from Women, Cindy Snow, an unbelievable girl.
Cindy.
He just got finished signing Jazz Moretti, the modern-day sharpshooters, Showtime Marcel Williams out of Paradise Valley, and, of course, the three-time tag team champions, the House of Pain, have signed. And here's an old buddy of yours that's coming on the North American Wrestling Alliance.
Sure.
There's the name, and I'm not sure. You may know him from the WFAN days. Rich Mancuso.
I don't think I've never...
He did overnights.
Oh, did he? The name doesn't ring a bell. No.
Rich Mancuso is a radio legend.
Is he?
He did overnights for WFAN for years. He reported on pro
I
wrestling.
think that might be a little low, but...
He worked for WFAN for years. He's been involved in broadcasting for at least 30 years.
Yeah.
He's a definite legend. He'll be teaming up hopefully with Craig DeGeorge. And if you don't know who these guys are, they are legends. I get it. They're not.
Hey, let me tell you what Tony Mancuso and this organization that you're with, and Tony Mancuso and all the boys, and Cindy Snow and
Tony Capone, the Godfather.
Tony Capone, and Cindy Snow and all these people, John that you mentioned, and what they ought to do is they ought to fly me out there and let me MC an event, and I'll give them their money's worth. That's what they should do.
Well, it's funny that you should say that because Tony Capone, the Godfather, is interested in you. And he would be willing to sponsor that charity event that you wanted to come back here and kick somebody's ass.
Oh, please.
And he's serious.
Make that happen. Are you talking about me knocking the shit out of Steve Cohen from SiriusXM Radio?
Listen, he is serious. Tony Capone,
I'm serious.
the Godfather, he is serious. And he will reach out to you. And trust me when I tell you, he is willing to sponsor that event and get you out here.
Listen, he doesn't have... Listen, Tony's interested. Okay, fine. You've got my interest. What you have to do now is you got to reach out to Cohen. You know what? Reach out to Cohen. What I'd like to do is take on the entire air staff in one night, starting with the morning team, and Pat McAfee, who just joined, who I know you want to join SiriusXM, and get Steve Torrey out there, and Russo, and whoever else is on that channel. Get them all. I'd like to take them all on in one single night.
If anybody could make something like that happen, whether it be you coming out to host an event, because first off, the NAWA has made contacts and contracts with folks out in Indianapolis, out in Chicago, down in South Carolina, in Florida, overseas. Listen, the NAWA is back with a vengeance, and the Back with a Vengeance tour when it comes to starting the TV tapings, hopefully in November of this year, and then the tour for 2021. This is going to happen. We will come out that way, and we can make this happen. I know you're serious, and one thing I know for sure, the Godfather Tony Capone is serious. And if you go out to NAWAWrestling.com, you'll see that. And with the names that he's bringing in, and again, I've been commissioner for almost the last 20 years in the NAWA, taking over for Bruno Sammartino. The group of men and the family that Tony Capone has brought together and rumored to be the presidents, they're negotiating with Bob Backlund, J.J. Dillon. I mean, there's talent agents like Big Sal Graziano, Big Guido. The names are legendary. You may not know them, okay? And that's okay, but the wrestling community and the wrestling world will know them. And then on 9/11, for a special Patriot relaunch, because that's where the Godfather and the NAWA are coming from. They're patriotic. We're old school. It's professional wrestling at its best. They're going to be in conjunction, hopefully, they're talking to the Paradise 4 with Paradise Valley Professional Wrestling to do some sort of training camp and training facility. This is big breaking news.
Well, let me
Trust me when I tell you,
listen, I know you don't fudge. I take your word for it. But let me tell you
well,
something.
9/11.
Let me
Before
before we get to 9/11, and then I've got an idea that you guys may want to consider. Go ahead.
Well, just the launch for NAWAWrestling.com. First off, the YouTube is off the hook right now. It's out there. You can see the classic footage. 9/11 is the relaunch in conjunction with remembering the history and the events of 9/11.
Sure.
Because that's what the NAWA is all about. And again, I associate myself with winners, legends, people that are men of their word and that are respectful. And that's the Paradise Valley Pro Wrestling Group, the Paradise 4, and now the NAWA and the Godfather Tony Capone. Just like I do with Patrick Ryan and Dino, and I do with Mr. John J. Filippelli. And this is how it works, Dino. It's all family, it's all respect, and it's all about professionalism. And there's three types of people in this world, Dino.
Yeah.
Those who don't know what happened, those who wonder what happened, and people like the Guardian of Chaos and who I'm associated with that make things happen.
Sure. Right. Yeah, no, of course. And we got your back. Here's what you guys ought to think about doing. We have an event center here in Wyoming's biggest city, Cheyenne. We have an event center. And a couple years ago, just a couple short years ago, we were the first state to sanction, to give the go-ahead on bare knuckle fighting. Okay? They had to turn people away at the event. And about 4,000 people into that arena that night. If you guys came out here,
Go ahead.
Son of a bitch! I'm just.
That's what I do. That's why people get pissed.
Well,
because I cut people off all the
that's not
time.
nice.
That's what I do.
Well, that's not nice. Let me finish before you comment. So you should put together a tremendous wrestling card and promo it out here for about 2 months in advance, and I guarantee you will fill that place up and make a boatload of money that night. Because there's nothing like that. There is nothing like that out here. Nothing.
I will approach that idea to the Godfather, and if anyone could make it happen, it's certainly Tony Capone. There's no two ways about that. And it's funny that you should mention bare knuckle fighting because the Godfather's also talking to some mixed martial arts guys down in Florida, some bodybuilders overseas. It's going to go global. It's definitely going to go nationwide. And I will approach that. The Godfather's probably listening. And if he isn't, I'm sure Lou Reardon or John Castell are. And we will make that happen, Dino. And I'm giving you a guarantee right now here at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast.
Yeah.
In 2021,
right.
We'll make that fucking happen.
Of course. Well, I hope so.
I know so.
Well, when it comes to instincts about these things, isn't one of the things you complimented me on in an email not that long ago? You took note of. You think I'm a terrific marketer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd help you market that son of a bitch out here. Believe me, you'd have 4,000 people in there. 4,000. Easy.
Well, that sounds like an interesting offer. I greatly appreciate it on behalf of the NAWA. I don't want to speak for the Godfather. I certainly would never do that.
No.
But I will pass it along. And like I said, what we're ultimately hoping for is the strength of the NAWA and Paradise Valley Pro Wrestling. And what we do back here on the East Coast, and it's going to go nationwide, is not only mentoring wrestlers to be in the business and be performers and get to the top rung, but also to mentor people in life. I can't say it enough of what the Paradise 4 and Tony Capone and the ilk of the people that we hang around with, whether it be Avi Klein and his podcast. We hang around and are associated. Another, and I'll give you a second to respond.
Hold on a second here. I think at this point right now, let's get this out of the way. Let's get in the daily plug for
Absolutely.
SweetHeal.com.
Well, it's funny that you say that because he is listening.
Good.
My good friend, Mr. Hempel-Stilskin at SweetHeal.com.
Yes.
Listen, all your
What a guy.
needs, oils, tinctures, balms, edibles, Connecticut-owned, Connecticut-grown. Support your local business, small entrepreneurs, and that would be Mr. Hempel-Stilskin at SweetHeal.com. You know, there's nothing like it, but I want to talk about.
Oh, Dino's stealing this one, baby. Good selection, Big Daddy.
But if you ever go back in the woods swamp way, you better not go at night. There's things out there to feel in the woods that make a strong man not to ride. Things are crawling, things are flying, things creep around on the ground. And they say the ghost of Lucius Clay gets up and he walks
champion of chaos, welcome back to another show and another edition of Chaos Corner, big man.
Thank you, Dino. It's great to be back on the Patrick Ryan Show. The mother, if you will, the mother of all talk here for Chaos Corner, segment number 27. And Dino, I'm not going to condone this. Touchdown, Kansas City, Travis Kelce. So now it's 7-7 for Houston and Kansas City. Like, I really give a fuck. I put it on because you're reporting it and you were so excited that you got it. I'm on here to talk about pro wrestling and to remember 9/11. But let's get off of that. Let me digress. If you were a gambling man, seeing that the NFL is back in action this weekend and tonight, and I believe that you will find out through Boxcast that your ratings will be higher for Chaos Corner than it will for the NFL game tonight, and that's a guarantee.
It's always a
If
guarantee.
you have
Go ahead.
number 163
Yeah,
in the under,
right.
you're a jabroni.
A jabroni.
Dino,
Yeah.
a jabroni.
Right. You lost, in other words. Yeah.
You're a loser, baby.
Loser.
A loser.
You lost. But well, we weren't supposed to get. Somebody told me the show would be over by the before the summer hit.
Dino, somebody said to me personally the show would be over before you hit double digits, like number 10. And boy, were they wrong. And I no longer talk to that person, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. You know, they're watching, they're listening. That's the most important thing. So I want to welcome them. Whoever that is, he's probably watching and listening to the show right now. So thank you.
Well, it's actually a she.
Oh, it's a she.
Quite
Okay.
honest with you.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
honey. Yeah. So how you doing, big man? Yeah, you said you wanted to make a mention about 9/11. That's tomorrow. Of course, we're not going to be on the air. But the most devastating day in this country's history, without question. And it's hard to believe, isn't it, that it was 19 years ago, or 18 years ago, I should say.
Well, Dino, I'm going to say that to say this here on Chaos Corner. I remember where I was in September of 2001 for 9/11, if you will. I remember being in my beachside condo, fell asleep on the couch after getting out on third shift.
Where was this? Where were you? Were you actually in your town when this happened?
Yes, I was in my town.
Right.
Had my youngest daughter with me. Okay, but worked the third shift. Came home, both fell asleep on the couch. And by the time the first plane hit, I was just waking up about 3 minutes before the first plane hit, with seeing the plane flying towards the first building.
Right.
And I remember it like yesterday, and I remember it vividly of where I was and looking out over the balcony and seeing the pool, and beyond the pool was the beach. And I'll just never forget how surreal it was. And then thinking about all my brothers, not only that I know from the city that are first responders and guys from behind the wall that are connected with the pro wrestling business, but also here in this state, because a lot of our guys and responders obviously flooded in to New York City, as you well know.
Yeah, it was a terrible day, obviously, and that goes without saying. I was in Wheeling, West Virginia that day, and there was a Monday night football game the night before, because this happened on a Tuesday morning, and I slept. I must have woke up about, I don't know, maybe shortly after the whole sequence of events started in Lower Manhattan, and I hadn't turned on the television yet, and I didn't have radio on. I had a phone answering system at that time, Big Daddy, that when you picked up the phone, if you heard the dial tone going, it meant that you had messages on your voicemail built in through the
Old school.
Yeah, built in through the phone system. And so I immediately went to see who called me, and it was my mother, who was living in Florida at the time. And she must have called maybe a half hour before that, and she was, frantic, and she told me, please call me. I want to make sure you're safe. What are you doing? Have you heard about what's going on in New York? And I immediately put on the television and saw that the first plane had hit the tower, and then the second plane had hit, and then shortly thereafter that the first tower went down, and it was an eerie day, because that all air traffic was shut down, and I just felt vulnerable that day. I remember, feeling, pretty anxiety filled, and just a horrendous day, and then only 4 days later I got married, by the way, and then just the day after I got married, I made my way out to Los Angeles to take the job with Fox Sports Radio. So I think each and every one of us remembers exactly where we were during that awful day.
And just to go further with that, that's an amazing story at where you were with your life and how quickly then you had to attempt to move on in this devastating time in our country. And I think back then also, not only was I blessed and fortunate enough to be off the job and not be stuck behind the walls, not wondering what else was going to happen, because then you see the second plane coming in. I'm sitting there on the couch, I'll never forget it. It was a sunny day. And now, fast forward just less than a month later, during all the restrictions of 11, which is more serious, but just to throw in a little levity, Bully Ray, who's been on Busted Open Radio, and is a Hall of Famer from the WWE, said it to me on at least a couple of occasions 20 years ago. Give the Guardian of Chaos Big Daddy 5 spots, and he'll fuck up 4 of them. I consider that to be a compliment. So on to my point about the email, Dino.
Well, you know something, it's interesting that you were, between Boston and New York where you are, and let's not forget where I was situated in West Virginia that day. It wasn't far from the Pentagon and Washington, not that far. But what's interesting to me in what you said is that you got on a plane shortly thereafter when air travel was allowed to resume. At that time, I had a phobia about flying, a phobia that I've since been able to conquer. But to think about getting on a plane anytime after 9/11, I simply would not have been able to do it. Did you have any trepidation when you got on the aircraft when you first started to fly again?
Well, I got to be honest. I was at a different point. Of course, I think about my family at that point, but I also went out there and had a travel companion that was easy on the eyes. So I was distracted by that. And when I got out there, I realized it was a great opportunity to work with AEW and WWE ring announcer Justin Roberts, and then, like I said, the Gregorovics, who went on to WWE as Heaven and Hell, who owned the World Wrestling Zone, and then being fortunate enough to work with Terry Funk, and then a guy who a lot of people don't like in the wrestling community, Josh Matthews, who was on MTV, and I managed him in his first professional match. It's on record, it's fact, not that it means anything, the ring announcer from, or a color commentator from Impact Wrestling, but just different stories. So I took that as an opportunity, and I had trepidation. And even driving through the city, I remember being in Chicago, and I remember being in Vegas, and I just remember the different looks and the feelings on people. And again, out there in the Midwest, so to speak, it was all patriotism and people coming together, and they were praying and thinking about this part of the country and people that were first responders and military and law enforcement. And bringing the country together. Say what you want about Bush. I don't want to get political on here.
I get it. And it's something we've talked about a couple different times over the weeks when we get into this. So what's going on with big news with a merger, I hear, that's taking place?
Well, Dino, I'm glad you transitioned to that. I was going to hold on up to that for a little while because I want the audience to stay around, because there's a lot of breaking and trending news, and you know that I say it all the time from Chaos Corner. But obviously, the Godfather, Tony Capone, the owner of the North American Wrestling Alliance, has been all over national podcasts. He's been on with Don Morocco, Paul Romer, our head trainer at Paradise Valley. There has been a merger to an extent, and that's the big news, because remember something about Paradise Valley Pro Wrestling and the Paradise 4. It's a locally owned company in a stronghold of the Constitution State in the historic New Haven area, Worcester Street, the greatest pizza in the entire country at Sally's and Pepe's and Modern. That's what it's known for. That's our home base, and that's where the Paradise 4 run out of. Now combine it with Tony Capone and the North American Wrestling Alliance out of New York City, who is not a local independent company. It's becoming a national and international company that's going to go on to be on national TV, and they're working on deals, and I cannot believe what Tony and his group of guys, I talked about it last week. We went through it. You said, who are these guys? But I can't not believe what Tony in the front office, he just signed on, our head trainer, and you know him himself. You've seen videos. You know his history. Paul Roma is now the COO of the North American Wrestling Alliance, along being with the head trainer at Paradise Valley Pro Wrestling, which is still going to run shows, and it's going to be the performance center for the North American Wrestling Alliance. Breaking news.
Breaking news as well. Papua New Guinea just tuned into the show.
A lot of international fans, Vito.
They love you.
I traveled the Pac Rim
They love you.
back in the late 90s. What a tour, Dino. We went all over the place. You know, there's one place that I never went to, though. I never went to Singapore. Not only Mario Mancini, my former podcast partner, is now president of talent relations for the North American Wrestling Alliance, and the people that Capone, the Godfather, who's listening right now,
Yeah.
Lou Reardon's listening, John Casal, Cindy Snow, we talked about that. She said, Rich Mancuso. Listen, everybody's listening because I've been pumping it out, the Patrick Ryan Show on social media. You know that,
Sure.
especially on Twitter. And I can't thank you enough for sending our segments of Chaos Corner.
Well-
But that's what's happening. There's just so much news coming out, and it's growing so fast. Here's another thing, Dino.
Tell
And I
me.
know I'm going on and on.
No.
A lot of
You're
people
doing
are
fine.
listening.
You're doing fine. Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Coming from a professional like you, Dino, it's 14-7 Kansas City. There's a minute and a half left here before halftime. It's only on because you were so excited about getting the free link on the game tonight. But I'm going to change this. I'll tell you that, because I'll be listening to you and I'll be putting something else on later on.
All right.
But again, big news. Avi Klein, the
Yeah.
podcast partner for Paul Roma. Now I'm watching you on TV. Wait, give me a kiss right now. Say something. Throw a fist up in the air. Do something, Dino. Also, Avi Klein is now the color commentator, play-by-play for the North American Wrestling Alliance. Coming up November 14th, there's a big event going to be here in Connecticut with the North American Wrestling Alliance down at the Paradise Valley facility. And then December 12th, the NAWA will be back with another show. COVID or not, we're running, they're running, and also breaking news, I've been humbled and honored enough. Class of 2020, Dino, the Guardian of Chaos is being inducted into his second Hall of Fame, and that would be the Paradise Valley Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Class of 2020, I'll be getting inducted with the Paradise 4, and we know that's Pretty Paul Roma from WCW and WWE fame, former Power and Glory. They just did an unbelievable tribute to him last night on Maintaining the Truth with Ray Hercules Fernandez, the Fernandez family. Unbelievable people. Obviously, my former co-host Mario Mancini is going in.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you. Coming from a professional like you, Dino, it's 14-7 Kansas City. There's a minute and a half left here before halftime. It's only on because you were so excited about getting the free link on the game tonight. But I'm going to change this. I'll tell you that, because I'll be listening to you and I'll be putting something else on later on.
All right.
But again, big news. Avi Klein, the
Yeah.
podcast partner for Paul Roma. Now I'm watching you on TV. Wait, blow me a kiss right now. Say something. Throw a fist up in the air. Do something, Dino. Also, Avi Klein is now the color commentator, play-by-play for the North American Wrestling Alliance. Coming up November 14th, there's a big event going to be here in Connecticut with the North American Wrestling Alliance down at the Paradise Valley facility. And then December 12th, the NAWA will be back with another show. COVID or not, we're running, they're running, and also breaking news, I've been humbled and honored enough. Class of 2020, Dino, the Guardian of Chaos is being inducted into his second Hall of Fame, and that would be the Paradise Valley Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. Class of 2020, I'll be getting inducted with the Paradise 4, and we know that's Pretty Paul Roma from WCW and WWE fame, former Power and Glory. They just did an unbelievable tribute to him last night on Maintaining the Truth with Ray Hercules Fernandez, the Fernandez family. Unbelievable people. Obviously, my former co-host Mario Mancini is going in, of Undertaker fame, debuted with every star. Class of 2014 New England Hall of Famer. My former producer, Mr. Paul Perez, second-generation grappler, is being inducted. And then former United States heavyweight champion, director of operations from the U.S. Air Force, and I give kudos to our military on this 9/11 also, and that would be one Sergeant Murray. We're all going into the first class of the Paradise LA Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, Dino. Say that 3 times fast.
Congratulations. The second Hall of Fame for you. Very good. And by the way, Big Daddy and Guardian of Chaos Corner is brought to you by SweetHeal.com. Congratulations. The second Hall of Fame for you. Very good. And by the way, Big Daddy and Guardian of Chaos Corner is brought to you by SweetHeal.com.
Well, and he is listening. He's on the road as we speak, and I wish he would have pulled over because he texted me. Mr. Hempel-Stilskin is on his way to Long Island for a long weekend, but he said to me, Dino, SweetHeal.com on the Patrick Ryan Show. And listen, CBD Life, CBD Wellness, I don't go a day without using it. Now, Dino, you know I'm an active guy. I'm the class of 2019 New England Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer. I'm going into the Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, commissioner for the North American Wrestling Alliance, member of the Cauliflower Alley Club. Dino, and I don't go a day without it. I don't feel right. That's how much I rely on SweetHeal.com and Mr. Hempel-Stilskin.
All right, now, before we get to some of these emails that have come in.
Obviously, all wrestlers at one time were professional wrestling fans.